I had to do it to him. So early this month, my best friend commissioned me to do some album art for her brand new track, Eye of the Dragon. Now this is a track I have heard built up over months and months and months, and it is such an honor to be able to contribute even in a tiny way by creating some album art for it. I will leave links to the song in the video description, and make sure you check it out. If you love the Arcane soundtrack, I promise you'll love this one. I mean, you'll love it regardless, but yeah, check it out when you have a second. But yeah, she told me that they were looking for a character portrait in a style very similar to Netflix's Arcane, and she said, you know what, why don't you turn that into a style study? And I of course said, heck yeah, at this point I'll turn anything into a style study. Now, do I know anything about Arcane? No. But do I know anything about League of Legends? Also no. And so today's video is going to be a visual analysis as opposed to a full-blown character analysis. This isn't a full style study because honestly, your girl doesn't have the energy. The Encanto feature film took a lot out of me and I really need to replenish. So instead, I figured we could do an iconic video because hey-o, it's been a while since we've done it. So as always, remember to like and subscribe, comment your thoughts below, and come say hi on social media. But now sit back, relax, put your listening ears on, and let's look at painting some iconic faces in the style of Netflix's Arcane. Arcane is a 2021 Netflix series produced by Fortiche and Riot Games, and is basically an animated show that explores the origins of Jinx and Vi, two heroes in League of Legends, an incredibly popular video game. Following its release last November, Arcane quickly gathered a massive audience of dedicated League of Legends players and casual viewers alike. One of the reasons why is the unique, absolutely stunning art and animation style. You don't really notice this when you look just at still frames from the show, but the animation to me is super realistic, almost eerily so. Like, look at the way their faces shift and change with speech, or the little reactions and interactions. It is very advanced for what is essentially a 2D space. And when you put animation that powerful with obviously stylized visuals, what you end up with is a kind of entertainment experience that really stands apart from the crowd. Also, side note, does anyone else get the Walking Dead video game vibes from this art style? Yeah, that's right, I've done my fair share of gaming. Just kidding, I played it for one day and it gave me 2 weeks of anxiety. No, but do you see how the characters seem to have dimension but at the same time look sketchy and hand-painted? That's the kind of look that we're gonna figure out how to achieve today. So without much further ado, let's dive in. Let's start by taking a look at the proportions. With the Arcane characters, it almost feels like they toe the line between realism and stylization. So while the facial features are positioned in realistic ways, their relative sizes and shapes have been tweaked. More often than not, you'll see large almond-shaped eyes that are often rimmed with darkness. The nose is usually well defined with a bridge, bulb, and nostrils, and the lips are pretty average, nothing too pouty or overly minimized. One important feature in the Arcane characters, though, is the super defined chin. Be it a soft feminine character or a strong masculine character or anything in between, the face always has a solid defined chin that stands apart from the general curve of the jaw. Generally speaking, this tends to be an indicator of stubbornness, but like I said, I don't really know much about the show or the characters, so comment below if that applies. Here you're watching me sketch out our character for today. My prompt this week was opponent, and I thought, what is one thing every opponent has in common? It is that they hold up a mirror to flaws that you're not seeing in yourself. But back to the style, one super important part of the character's design is the hair. It is a huge visually heavy element in terms of the character's silhouette, and while we're not gonna dive super deep into the hair today, I do want to mention a couple of important important pointers. First of all, the edges of the hair are always well defined with large shapes. Most of the texture lies inside the main body of the hair, but if you zoom out on a character and grab a large chalk brush, I can guarantee it will take only a couple of brush strokes to get the overall silhouette of the hair. The second important thing about the hair is that it is very deliberate. There are no random flyaway hairs around the face. That's not to say that there are no stray hairs, but the point I'm trying to make is that they are not random. Every stray hair enhances the silhouette. Nothing is ever random. In fact, going ahead, you'll see that this type of design control actually extends to many different aspects of the art style. Here is the sketch so far, so let's now go in and add some form. Okay, the most important aspect of rendering in the style of Arcane is minimalism. There is a term that I've heard Ahmed Elduri use called brush economy. It is when you create the maximum impact with the fewest brush strokes possible. The Arcane rendering style takes a similar approach, but in terms of form and plane shifts, how can you show the form in the most readable way with the fewest possible edges and values? Because when we look closely at the brushwork, we see that all the tones are either flat or airbrushed or both. There is no in-between texture. Here's what I mean. When something isn't a hard line of separation between two colors, it is always a soft, airbrushed blend. It's not like using a textured blend brush, if that makes sense. However, you'll often find that there are airbrushed tones within a flat area. So with the eyebrows and lashes, for instance, it's usually a flat shape, but in some lightings, you'll see a diffused color come in from one side. But with the values, here is how you construct the quintessential Arcane phase. I like to start with the eyes, or eye in this case, and we're going to place a very dark inner eye socket right under the start of the eyebrow. This is balanced out by a dark tone focused on the lower eyelid, mostly towards the outer half of it. We're then going to bring the inner socket shadow down to the side of the nose, and we'll contrast these heavy shadows by creating a soft contour on the outside of the face, lightly indicating some bone structure, from the temple down the cheekbone ending at the chin. One extra shadow you want to add is the lower lip roll, which is the shadow between the lower lip and the chin extended to either side. This is a common feature in a lot of the characters, especially the ones with narrower lips. Although we've focused on painting in the shadows, this leaves us with some key highlight areas. You want to make sure there is a single flat highlight running down the center of the nose. There is a single tone from the top of the cheek running all the way down to the corner of the mouth, and your hardest edges are going to be concentrated in the center of the face. So the eyes, nose, and mouth will all have hard edges, and everything around the outside of the face is going to have soft blending. And the one important thing you need to remember, and I'm serious, don't forget this, is that the only specular highlight you'll see in the face is in the eyes. Everything else is matte, and that is what gives you the illusion of texture on the skin without actually using texture or pour brushes. So this is what we should have so far. Let's dive in with some colors. What really sells this animation style is that although the characters are heavily stylized, the color and lighting setups are fairly realistic. Here's what I mean. If a scene is lit by sunlight, it actually works like sunlight does in real life. So not only are the bright areas more vibrant than any of the shadow tones, but the light also catches a rim on the character or object. Not only does it cast directional shadows, you also see the color fall off in the transition between light and dark. If it is a gloomy scene, the colors are reflected on the character's skin and clothes. In fact, the color and lighting almost seem hyper-realistic in that they are purely determined by the environment as opposed to stylistic choice. However, the signature style attribute with how the characters are colored is that there is no hue shift in the face. The majority of you guys probably already know that our faces have color zones: yellow foreheads, red nose and cheeks, and a blue jaw. And most artists exaggerate these color zones to really push a lot of life into the character's face. But with Arcane, you'll notice that these color zones are extremely subtle, if not just completely missing. What that does is create this almost lifeless, extremely thick skin effect where the colors from underneath are not really showing through. Since we have a grayscale painting in place, let's go ahead and throw some color on there. Now, here's the deal. I started off coloring skin like I usually do, and guess what? My instinct is to create those color zones. I quickly realized that this is an iconic video, not a Srish does whatever she fancies video, so I had to desaturate the skin and turn it grayscale again, and this time work more mindfully. And for the second attempt, I decided to use color curves to create a skin tone base to start, and then build upon it with a hand painting. I found that A, this is way quicker, and B, it ensured that I wasn't accidentally painting too many hue shifts again. I used an airbrush set to multiply and painted on some directional shadows, and then with a new layer set to overlay, I painted in the areas of direct sunlight as well as the band of color fall off in the transition between light and dark. I kept the background fairly simple, just some clouds and a railing, and finally, let's go ahead and really seal the deal with this style. Look at this still of Vi. Look at the texture in her face. Do you see the layered color block around her nose and the skin around her cheek? Or this shot of Mel, where you see the layers of flat tones that get gradually lighter on the highest planes of her face. And you'll see that this hard-edged effect is mostly localized to the center of the face, almost in like a triangle between the eyes and the nose. And this is what creates so much texture and sharpness in the center of the face, despite being vast areas of flat color, and this is the key to really nailing this style. There's a couple of different ways you can create this effect. I'll show you on a sphere first. This is just a basic grayscale sphere that I've rendered like I normally would with a large airbrush. I'm then gonna switch to a hard-edged round brush with pressure opacity dynamics. The first way to create those choppy layers is to grab the highlight tone, paint a flat area of highlight, then grab a midtone and do a ring around the highlight, and then grab a darker midtone and rinse and repeat. That gives you a gradual shift and would work well for areas where you have a ton of hue shifts. However, like we saw, we have minimal hue shift in the face, meaning we can apply the second method, which is significantly quicker and easier. In this one, we're only going to color pick a highlight tone and start with our largest area, which is our dark midtone, and we're going to create a very translucent flat with low pressure. Then we're going to increase the pressure very slightly and create a smaller flat on top, which is slightly more opaque. And then we'll do another smaller one with more pressure that is more opaque inside that. And you repeat this until you get to your main area of highlight, which would be at full opacity. So now you have a gradual set of steps going from dark to light without having to color pick every tone manually. However, like I said, the second method only really works if you have little to no hue shift, where the highlight and shadow tones would gradually lead to each other in a linear way. So you'll see me switch between the two techniques when I textured the colored painting, because some areas have more hue shifts than the others. However, in either case, the goal is to create choppy steps of values going from light into shadow. And if you really want to push this effect even further, you can always use a sharpen tool or filter and really crisp up the texture right at the center of the face. This is a really subtle but effective way to draw attention where you want it, is by sharpening up the point of focus when the surroundings are soft and blurry. This step to me is the real game changer when it comes to achieving this style of rendering, and I really hope you guys try it out because I'm telling you, it's gonna change how you view the transition midtones forever. But with that said, here is our finished Arcane inspired painting called Opponent. Hope you love it as much as I do. So there you go, you crazy video game kids. I hope this video did your baby some justice. Are there any other art styles you want me to dive into? Please feel free to leave a comment below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, I do appreciate all the love you guys can show it. So make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because it honestly makes these so much more fun knowing that there are actual people out there who learn and grow from these videos. Oh, also again, check out my friend's track Eye of the Dragon down in the description below. I am so proud of her and her co-creator. I don't know how the music industry works, but the two of them have put all of their heart and soul into it, and it is such a beautiful song, so make sure you check that out in the description below. But yeah, if you want to check out some more iconic videos, I will leave a playlist up here in the outro. You can mini binge on them. There aren't that many, but they're all really good. But with all of that said, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!